Good evening. This is CTV News for Wednesday, May 9th. I'm Patricia Vallone.
And I'm Sonia Shrivastava. Thank you for joining us. Members of the General Assembly will return to the state capitol next week to balance the budget after failing to do so during the regular session. Today, the governor and state leaders discuss budget negotiations with reporters at a press conference. CTV's Rochelle Metzger is there with details.
Today, Governor Martin O'Malley, along with leaders of the House and Senate, discussed a special session budget deal that will be considered when lawmakers return here to Annapolis on Monday. The tax and revenue package would have about 16% of Maryland's top wage earners paying more in state income taxes and shift the burden of teacher pension costs to counties. With the Senate President and House Speaker by his side, Governor Martin O'Malley broadly outlined the budget package he hopes to pass during next week's legislative session.
To leave this budget incomplete, to leave this budget as it stands right now, would damage the very forward motion that all of us together have worked so hard to achieve for our state.
Maryland's General Assembly adjourned without agreeing on a budget, triggering more than $500 million in cuts, which would have largely affected education and public services.
It was a constitution, but I felt we should stop at 12 o'clock. I'm very honored to be back here on another day to correct what needs to be corrected and move the state forward.
The governor says the new spending plan grows 2.6% over last year's budget, raising income taxes on individuals making more than $100,000 and households making more than $150,000 a year. O'Malley calls his tax and revenue package a balanced approach that will help Maryland defend its AAA bond rating.
It will include action, almost $600 million in further spending reductions across fiscal year 12 and fiscal year 13 than were originally proposed in our January budget proposal.
Teacher pension costs will shift to counties over a 4-year phase-in period. Prince George's County Executive Rashawn Baker says local leaders fought the change as long as they could, and says the county will have to identify about $5 million in cuts to the fiscal year 2013 budget he submitted to the council. Meanwhile, the nonpartisan group Americans for Prosperity Maryland sees the session as an excuse to increase government spending.
It's the same thing that we saw with the gas tax, the same bipartisan coalition opposing unnecessary taxes, unnecessary spending, and just saying we can't afford to give anything else to the state.
Now, the governor was adamant that this will be a budget-only session, but he says he does plan to call lawmakers back to Annapolis later this summer to discuss expanded gaming in Maryland. This would allow for the issue to go before voters in the fall. In Annapolis, I'm Rochelle Metzger, CTV News.
Lawmakers expect next week's special legislative session to last 2 or 3 days. And of course, CTV will be there bringing you the latest from the State House.
Yesterday's surprise truck inspection at FedEx Field shut down dozens of drivers, leaving them in a lurk until their vehicles were repaired. But CTV News has learned that some local tow truck drivers and mechanics are complaining that Maryland State Police gave preferential treatment to an out-of-state company to conduct the repairs.
We're a company, and we have trucks that we would have dedicated to help Maryland state troopers out, the DOT police in this area, but unfortunately they didn't notify us or anything like that, so we didn't make plans to be there. So I would have to say, yeah, there were some things that happened that for my sister companies and my brother companies that in the area, I've called them all and they don't have no one got notified, so it's just weird. Why didn't you notify let's just say you notified somebody in Maryland. A West Virginia company? I don't understand that.
You mentioned the barbecue, some of your concerns about that, feeding the troopers. Tell me about that.
You know what, I think it's always good to take care of the police and stuff like that, but if this is what we're going to do to receive something, that's what it kind of came across to me as. Maybe they weren't asking for it. It was certainly maybe given to them by this company all about trucks, but I mean it certainly looks bribery to me in many forms because they're not even a Maryland company.
Now, in a phone call, Maryland State Police tells CTV that no one is supposed to be notified of a surprise truck inspection, that they are legally mandated to keep them confidential. Captain Doffelmeyer says he's not sure how the West Virginia company heard about it. He says his office gives lists of mechanics and tow truck companies to drivers that are shut down, and that it's their choice who they want to use for repairs and towing.
22 people have filed a civil rights lawsuit regarding the Maryland legislative redistricting law. They believe it would dilute the minority vote. The suit challenges the law in the state's 47 districts. Pat Fletcher explains why she supports the legal action.
Our numbers have grown. If you look at the census, I don't know what numbers they're looking at, but our numbers have grown, and all we want to do is to have an equal share. You know, it's amazing. I look at the news and around the country, and they talk about how the Republicans are snatching people's voting rights away by requiring them to have identification. Maryland is not doing that. They're going through the back door. And that's what they're doing. They're taking people's of color's votes away from them by diluting it. And you're going through the back door. One is just as bad as the other.
The lawsuit was filed on May 1st.
Fallen troopers are honored during a special ceremony today in Pikesville. Trooper First Class Shaft Hunter's name was added to a state police memorial plaque during the roll call of fallen heroes. Hunter lost his life in the line of duty 1 year ago when he was killed in a crash on Interstate 95. Surviving family members of more than 40 other fallen troopers also attended the memorial. A man wanted on attempted second-degree murder charges in Prince George's is arrested in New Jersey. U.S. Marshals and Sheriff's deputies located Carlos Monje Martinez in Red Bank yesterday. He's being charged as a fugitive and is now awaiting extradition. Authorities say he also faces assault and reckless endangerment charges in connection with an incident in Hyattsville on April 23rd. Monje Martinez allegedly used a kitchen knife to stab an ex-girlfriend and tried to stab another man during a physical altercation. And still to come here on CTV News tonight.
We're in the district where the Council of Governments is releasing its report on the homeless in our region.
Plus, are you currently looking for work? We'll take you inside of a job training facility at Prince George's Community College.